Hey there, cheers, and welcome to my very first Wine for Me at Home virtual wine tasting. I am so excited that you're joining me, and I'm really excited to launch with Master Sommelier Guy Stout of Stout Family Wines. I've known Guy for quite a while. We've judged together for the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo International Wine Competition. We've judged together at the California State Fair Wine Competition. And I'm thrilled to share his wines with you today. Now, the best way to watch this is if you go follow the link, order some of his wines, get them, and that way you can taste along with us. I mean, how many times have you tasted with a master sommelier? It is awesome the way he describes these wines. You will love it if you have the wines with you. But if you just can't wait, okay, you can go ahead and watch it, then order the wines, and then watch it again, because I'm telling you, it's a blast to taste with him. In the video today, in our interview, we're going to talk about their legendary winemaker that Guy works with, a friend of his for 40 plus years. We're going to learn how Stout Family Winery is truly a family business, how he's incorporated his son, his wife, and all the things that they do to bring you delicious wines. And we're going to also learn how Guy got his start in the wine industry from being a busboy to where he is today. Guy is a pillar not only in the Texas wine community, but in the US. He has helped to train many other master sommeliers that have followed behind him. He's one of the most generous teachers that I have met in the industry. I just love the way he talks about wine, makes it real, and honestly wants everybody else to enjoy it alongside him. So I hope you enjoy. Please leave a comment. Let me know other wines that you might want to know about, other people that I should introduce. And also, I'd love to hear what you think about after meeting Guy. So don't forget, whenever you order the wine, to use the wine4.me promo code. So if you go to Stout Family Winery and you use the promo code WINE4ME, you'll get a special free tasting kit from me that's got a placemat that shows you the order of the wine, some recipes, and some fun stuff. So go to Stout Family Winery. Again, link in the show notes for sure. But go ahead and use that code WINE4ME to get all the fun stuff for free. All right, let's taste, shall we? Cheers. Hi there, and thank you for joining me at Wine for Me at Home. Today we're talking to Master Sommelier Guy Stout, who's responsible for some delicious new wines coming out of Napa with the Stout family wines. Today we're going to talk about two of those wines, a Sauvignon Blanc, Granny Ray's Napa Valley Sauvignon Blanc, and we're also going to talk about a 2015 Napa Valley Cabernet. So if you haven't opened your wines, go ahead, do that. I've already got some Sauvignon Blanc in my glass. I hate to keep people from wine. We don't want to wait. So like I said, we're talking with Guy Stout, Master Sommelier, fellow Texan, and he's been a pillar of the wine Texas scene for many years, and I am honored to have him with you. So Guy, good to have you here. How you doing? Cheers.
I'm doing well. Cheers to you. Well, this is our second vintage of producing Sauvignon Blanc. If you get it in the glass, you swirl it, aromatize the esters, as they say. You give it a nice smell. There's a floral hint to this wine.
Yes.
A citrus tone as well. The flowers here, white flowers, almost a jasmine type. There's some kind of exotic melon.
There's something exotic going on in this glass for sure.
Yeah, and there's the typicity of Sauvignon Blanc, which has got that kind of a green tone, herbal, herbaceous, I guess is the word a lot of people use. The citrus here is more of a lime, a hint of maybe, that ruby red grapefruit, Texas ruby red. But it's just got a real exotic backtone to it, just the aroma.
Absolutely. Well, and I think something to notice is it's definitely not a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. So for those that are that might expect it to be like a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, absolutely not. It's just so much more open and juicy and riper, I think.
Yeah, just a quick tour of Sauvignon Blanc. Of course, New Zealand is the worst kept secret out there. And I've found that most people either like it or don't like it. It is overtly aromatic and aggressive. Some people don't care for that. I'm real lucky. I'm like the Labrador Retriever for wine. I haven't found many that I can't stand. Then, of course, in the Loire Valley, the Saint-Cyr is very famous for beautiful world-class Sauvignon. And then Bordeaux. Bordeaux is probably where I cut my teeth. And even though it's blended with Semillon, this wine has also got a percentage of Semillon added. I don't know the exact percentage. There was one barrel that we used in the blending. The wine goes through a little bit of barrel aging, but it's more neutral barrel than anything. We don't want oak in the wine. It tends to dominate Sauvignon Blanc very well. You know, it overtakes it. So neutral barrel, we like that for the oxygen ingress factor, which, you know, that's a $5 word for let the wine breathe. A stainless steel tank is like a straitjacket. It's a wonderful fermentation and aging vessel because you can just lock the wine down, turn the temperature down, lock it, just keep it tight. Whereas in a barrel, the wine has a little bit of elbow room, a little wiggle room, lets it breathe a little bit. And I like the textural component that adds to the wine. Our winemaker, Tom Rinaldi, is famous for making Sauvignon Blanc, and made him a partner with the business. And he said, I want to make Sauvignon Blanc.
And you said, okay.
Yeah. All right. So let's taste the wine. Yeah, so the fruit, the wood is not a factor.
This is so magnificent.
Oh, man.
Okay, now I'm like salivating. It's like calling for more. It's saying, okay, that was delicious, Amy, but you needed to have another sip. Oh my gosh. It's just so, it's just so fresh.
The first sip kind of cleaned your palate out if you had a coffee or if you were drinking a cola or whatever.
Right.
The second sip is where you get the essence of the wine.
All right, well, let's do that.
This one just kind of clears things out. And there you have the wine. Run through the things, confirm that kind of floral note, comes through a little bit on the palate. The citrus certainly there, more of a lime grapefruit combination.
Yeah.
I really like that, the roundness of the wine. It is dry. There is no sweetness in this wine at all. The confirming that kind of tropical fruit, things that you can't smell. The texture of the wine, the acid here is moderate plus. It's jumped over the moderate fence a little bit. I don't say it's high, but it's certainly crisp and luscious. The alcohol on this is moderate. I think it's around 14.2, 14.5 right there. Not low, but it's really not high in the new world of ripening grapes and making wine. And then tannin on this one, you might get a little bit of that, a little pithiness if you get some of that hairy stuff on your orange or your tangerine, you know, the little fuzzy stuff. That really can give you a slight bitterness in the finish, but it props it up. It keeps it from being flabby. So the wine's lean and it's clean. I love that, and that Semillon, that little hint of Semillon rounds it out on the edges, and I think the use of the neutral barrel also adds to that lusciousness.
Okay, so y'all might be, I just have to say, I love listening to you describe the wine in such detail with these words. And so some of the viewers might be like, wow, these are a lot of words. And the system, it's almost like you have this, we're going to start here and we're going to go through this part of the wine. And now we're going to talk about this part of the wine. And this is what I'm getting. And this is what it means. And I want to point out that this comes from years of experience in tasting, but also a very specific way of learning to taste and to talk about it. And that's probably from your studies into becoming a master sommelier, and also you're helping other people. So why don't you talk a little bit about that? There are what, like 169 master sommeliers in the US, or is that the whole world?
In the world, there's 260 currently.
Okay.
I was in the top 100 or so 15 years ago when I passed. And there's some bright people that are coming through the program, some that I've helped along these years. And, you know, I didn't pass on my first try, I'll tell you. It's a very daunting examination, blind tasting. This service exam is what scared me, even though I came through the restaurant industry when I was younger. The service standards are so high.
Right.
You can't really blink. You can't miss a step. If you miscalculate, you're on a clock, and you have X number of tasks you have to perform in that clock to be able to finish on time and get the task done. The theory was the thing. I can't study for people, but study hard, you should do well. The tasting, I knew I was going to pass that, but I passed theory, then I passed the service, which I was so happy. And then on my third try, now if you don't get all three components at the master level, on your third try, you lose your points and you have to start again.
Oh my gosh.
So I was on that precipice, if you would, on the cliff. And all I had left was tasting. And that was the one thing I knew I could get done. So, and I passed.
You're going to breathe easy on that one. You're breathing easy.
Well, you don't breathe easy.
No.
Hey, you're a nervous wreck. I'm a master examiner now, so I get to see them come through, and they say, "Oh, you're such a passionate judge. You're the guy." And actually, students come to me, or candidates come to me and say, "Hey, thank you. You told me what we needed to accomplish. We got it done, and you were calm about it. You helped calm me down because it is nerve-wracking." My first time when I did not get the service was horrible. Champagne glasses fell over on my tray after I had filled them and placed them on the tray.
Oh no.
I bear hugged the tray, and I'm drenching. It was that bad. So
definitely worse than the worst people.
I knew I didn't pass that year. So, but yeah, well, you have to carry, part of the service component is to be able to show dexterity on the floor by being able to move around the table correctly, by placing glassware properly, being able to shift glasses if they're moved properly. There are ways of doing that, and picking up and carrying trays over to another table to help, to serve some friends of your table. And
right.
So that's when the glasses went over.
Well, that probably makes other people behind you feel better, knowing that you can just totally do horribly and pick up and do it again the next year, provided
you have to show your vulnerability, and it is nerve-wracking. We know that now. I say we as examiners, we try. It's a great program to try to nurture people through. It wasn't as nice a program when I was coming through because it's developed to a very fine degree and setting people up for success. But you have to study. The work is incredible. And if you have a family and you have kids like I did, oh my God, this is 20 years ago. And my kids are not kids anymore.
Right.
But yeah, it's brace yourself. It's a tough program.
Or if you're a guest in the restaurant, know that you're in good hands. If you've got somebody with that pin, that they're going to know everything about the wine that they're serving you. And I think the service part points out that how important it is that it's not a sales part, it's a service part. It's how do you guide somebody to get what they want and give them the best experience that they can. I have so many of my friends or people that I talk to, and they say, "Oh, I don't want to talk to the sommelier," and I'm thinking, are you kidding? This is the person that has the key to the wine list, and they want you to have a fantastic experience. So bring them on over. Ask her or him what they think,
That's,
and don't
you're
worry about
exact,
not having the right words. Just spit out what you can, and they'll help you out. I mean, that's really what you're trained to do as a master sommelier, right?
right. Well, you're exactly right. And it's called gracious hospitality. Those are the two words that I really try to embed on all the people I know. Do not be a wine snob.
Right.
Find the wine that's going to work for the guest. Um, Find their price point that they're comfortable with as well. I mean, don't say, well, it's $50 too much, or, but guide them through the menu, show them the things and say, I've got a couple of recommend. You like Pinot Noir. This is lighter and delicate. Point it out, and they can scroll over and see the price.
Right. Right.
And then recommend something more expensive. And then they'll lead you to where their sweet spot is, and ask questions. Somms are waiting to help, and otherwise they're just armed and dangerous. They're waiters with corkscrews.
Waiters with corkscrews.
Be careful.
Well, let's kind of go back to how you became the waiter with the corkscrew. How did you get your start and your interest in wine?
Well, I was working in restaurants.
I'm going to take another sip. I don't, while you're chatting.
God, thank you.
Fantastic.
But I was stocking the wines in a fine dining restaurant I worked in Dallas, Dominique's. This is back in the early 70s. And I had this French manager. He was, like most French chefs I know, loud and proud. He would yell at you all the time. So I'd put the wines in, and he made sure I put it in the right spot and yelled at me if I made a misstep. But I really got infatuated with it. You see these wooden boxes. This is fine dining in Dallas in the 70s. It was mostly Bordeaux. There was some Burgundy, like Pommard, became my favorite red. And then Chateauneuf-du-Pape was a buzzword. And there were also two little pink wines out there, Matus and Lancers,
right.
Back in those days. Boy, opening a bottle of Lancers was a challenge because the cork is flared and because it had a little effervescence to it. I was scared to death opening Lancers. But, part of that. And then I asked about the boxes and how they branded the boxes. You get a wood burning tool when you're a kid in Texas.
Oh.
I mean, as soon as you can walk, you get one of those. And I saw those boxes and I was infatuated by it. So, and I learned to pronounce the wines. The manager helped me. And after he left the restaurant, the new manager said, keep stocking the wines. And then I became a waiter, same restaurant. And then he paid me to stock the wines and reorder them.
Score, getting paid to do this.
I'm 19 years old. I'm like, okay, this is great. And had become a tux waiter. Back then, you could drink when you turned 18. This is Vietnam and the war, and old enough to fight, old enough to vote.
Right.
So anyway, that's how I pretty much got started. And I became the guy that everyone asked questions to because I stocked the wine.
Right.
And I could pronounce the wine. And
right.
I didn't know that much about the wines. We ran out of one wine.
Uh-huh.
And I went to the sales rep said, we're out of that. And, won't be in for, next shipment is 6 months from now. And I went to the manager and said, hey, what do I do here? And he goes, well, get something just like it. So I told the rep, I said, bring me something just like it. A case of, and it was Bordeaux, a case of Bordeaux shows up and in samples. And I went, okay, what am I supposed to do? And he goes, well, pick one of these. It's pretty close. And I went, I don't know what and I started pulling bottles out and I said, hey, which one is the closest in price and to what we had. And he pulls one out, and I said, just send that. We'll give it a go. He gave me the box of samples, and he said, try this one that you just picked. Let me know. And of course, I didn't know much. I tried it, and I liked it. And, I've been drinking wine ever since.
All right. Well, that's a really good start. And I think you hit on the right thing. You tried it and you liked it, right?
I use the other wines as comparison. And the one he had picked, I agreed with. And back then, you typewriter wine list.
Yeah.
There wasn't internet or computers.
Or fancy technology to help you find the right wine.
Yeah, fax machine was big news.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh my goodness. Okay, so you are learning about Bordeaux. You're ordering the wines. Now you're actually getting to help select the wines, and then you're thinking, okay, this is something I like. I can make money doing it, and I enjoy it. So, how do you then fast forward to coming to Houston, and then you've had a vineyard in Texas for a while as well? I'm like, how did that happen?
Well, 20 years I've grown grapes in Texas with my wife, Kim. Our kids grew up learning how to drive tractors and trucks and everything on our property.
Now, how many kids do you have?
3. We have 3 boys.
3 boys. Okay, I thought it was 3 boys, but I wasn't sure. So they're driving tractors, and do they love it, hate it, kind of like it? What do you think?
Well,
they liked it the first year.
Yeah. Then they got tired of it real fast. Like, I don't want to get in the truck. I don't want to go, so because it's a 3-hour drive to Blanco. We chose Syrah and Tempranillo grapes.
Now, when was this? When did you plant? I'm just.
In 1999.
Yeah.
And first 5 years were pretty prosperous. And then we ran into, we had to game fence the property first. And then you wait about 3 years and you start getting some decent fruit. And then on our 4th year, we got wiped out completely by the birds.
Oh.
1 week we're looking great. The next week, nothing. I mean, you had to search. And it was like somebody came in and stole our grapes. And the birds wiped us out. So
they were hungry. They were hungry, and they were so sweet and juicy. What could they do, right? They had to eat them.
So,
but that's your whole year gone. I mean, that is just one of the things that I think about so much. Is that, I mean, you're planting, and as you said, you have to wait several years before the fruit is there, and it can produce what you want it to produce. And so now you're at year 4. Things should be going well, and then nothing.
0.
Birds.
But I got very good at mechanical skills. I designed and built my own bird netter.
Really?
Bought the nets, and it's kind of a hangman's noose kind of an operation, but I'd put the nets on and I'd put the nets off on the back of my tractor.
Right.
It takes a crew of people to do it, but we got rid of the birds.
Okay. That's right.
You're
a problem solver, Guy Stout. Like, if there's a problem, you are not going to let it, you're just going to figure it out. Like, I love that. That's awesome.
Unfortunately, the next critter that came along were raccoons.
Oh, okay.
And they travel in packs. Okay. And, why we sent a monkey into outer space, I don't know. Should have sent a raccoon. They're the smartest critters you'll ever encounter. We trapped a few, took it to the local SPCA, and they said, get them out of here. We don't want them. Because I was they said, no, get them out. So I took them about 20 miles away and let them out. But they came back. They came back. It's horrible. So after 19 years, 20 years of growing grapes, we sold our vineyard about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And we've invested in Napa Valley.
All right.
My 2 sons were lifeguards at Southside Place here in Houston.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Which is a nice swimming pool, but that's, they were in college and it was time to get a job other than lifeguard at a pool. And so My oldest came home that summer and went to commercial real estate. And my number two son, Ian, um, moved to Napa to summer intern with Rombauer Vineyards.
Oh my goodness.
I had taken them to Napa and we had a father's weekend, had a blast, and said, do this, come out here and do this. And Ian said, yeah, I'll do it. And as soon as he went back his senior year that summer, he interned again and didn't want to come home. And I said, come home, finish school. They were both at TCU, Horned Frogs, Go Frogs. And, he went right back and he's been there ever since. That's been like 6 years ago.
So not gone to Texas, gone to California for him, right?
To California, yeah. And he's thought about coming and working in the Texas wine industry. But we've gotten rid of our vineyard. It never was as productive as we wanted. And that's, I hated not doing it. I miss my tractor. That's more than anything else. It was backbreaking work.
I
and
bet.
I'm not getting any younger, so I still miss it.
I bet. Well, a tractor could be fun, but yeah, I don't think you want one of those in your backyard now. So that won't really work out. Okay, so I wanted to ask you one more thing about the Sauvignon Blanc, but since we're talking about Napa, we'll also get to Cab. But you said Granny Ray. Tell me who Granny Ray is.
That's my mother-in-law. She just turned 90 years old.
All right. Well, happy birthday to her. So you named it. Will your Sauvignon Blanc always carry her name as long as it's this?
No, we put it on to celebrate her 90th birthday.
I love that. That is super cool.
Well, if you read the back of the label, it tells the story. The kids, all the grandkids, call her Granny Ray. So
there you go. So cheers to.
Very personal. It was funny. She thought we just labeled a few bottles for her. And we went, no, we did the whole batch.
The whole thing. Well, you get to do that when it's your winery, right? You can do them all.
Well, she's a great lady. It's the least we could do.
Also, I heard that there's more to your family on the label than just Granny Ray. Can you tell us about the wings, maybe?
Oh, that's a perk. Yeah, the wings. It's a combination of effort between the boys and the family, my wife. If you notice, there's 6 major feathers on each side of the label. I'm from a very large family. I have 5 brothers, and me is 6. And then I have 6 sisters. So that represents the other side. So that's the 6 boys and the 6 girls, the Stout family. One last note, my contribution to the label, to look at the edge, it's the star of Texas.
So that I was going to say something, but I didn't want to be wrong. So the stars are the star of Texas. So we got a little homage to Texas, your family, and then Granny Ray's 90th birthday. I love that.
Isn't that fun?
Yes, it's very. You get to do it because it's your winery.
I am so pleased with this wine. It's so juicy and fresh. It's vibrant. It's got this real cool energy to it. And I can't bring it home. My wife, Kim, she said, you drink too much. I drink the profits, so like Bluebell.
Is it, I was going to say, just like Bluebell. Tell us what we should have with the Sauvignon Blanc.
Well, I'm hooked on Greek salad right now, the traditional Greek salad, without the lettuce, just really the calamatas, the cucumber, the onion, the oregano. It just kind of plays well. My other dish, if you go to, it's probably local to us here, is campanchana. It's the little shrimp and crab. It's a fancy version of a shrimp cocktail. With this one, it just lights up. And, of course, I love linguine with clams. It's one of my very favorites. As long as you don't overdo the garlic in that, this wine plays great.
All right, you're making me hungry now, and I've
been hungry too.
I'm good. So on that note, let's move to the Cabernet and get a little more hefty on our meals. So this one still has the stars and the family.
Yeah.
Now, I noticed that this is a 2015 that we've got in our glass here.
Yes, yeah.
So, but this is not the year 2015. So tell me, well, I guess we should talk about the wine, but I noticed that you age it. You let it sit longer before you release it. And
Yes,
I
we
that
do.
was pretty
That's
special.
sort of our philosophy on the reds, especially. Um, I learned from Justin Meyer on one of my first trips to Napa back in 1979. I met him when I worked at a wine shop in Dallas. I've waited tables and worked at a wine shop. And he came in and he was representing Franciscan wines.
Okay.
He was a winemaker at Christian Brothers, and he had a little consulting business. And he was promoting Franciscan, but pulled me off to the side and said, "Hey, this is a really nice shop. I've got a little Cabernet I'm making on the side. It's called Silver Oak." And
This was in the beginning.
I got 5 cases, and they really don't want to bring it in because it's sort of expensive. Back then, I think it was $10 a bottle, and
$10 a bottle. It costs a little more
yeah,
than that now.
and retail was around 14 or something like that.
Okay. Okay.
And I said, "Sure, I'll take it." But I thought it was Napa when I first bought it. And then the owner of the shop says, "What is this?" And I said, "Hey, it's this guy. Just something magnetic about Justin." And on my first trip out there in '79, I visited him, and he took me to the old dairy barn, and he said, "This is how we do it. You kind of don't worry about your red so much. Just kind of open it up a little, get it in the barrel, get it off of the sediments, rack it. And then once you get all of the heavy sediment, fill it up, push the bung in, roll it over, leave it alone." And he kept his wine for 4 years and released it on its 5th year.
Okay.
I liked the way he talked about it. He made it sound simple. And of course, we all know it's not simple. Uh, but you're more of a security guard than you are, I guess you get good fruit, you watch what you do, you use the right formula, if you would, not that it's a pre-planned product. You have to deal with nature every year. Just keep the bad bugs out. Yeah. So we aged the wine at least probably 2 years, 18 months and 24 months in wood. Then we'll put it in the bottle for a couple of years. And then right before the 5th year, we'll release it.
All right. Well, let's talk about it. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I love the aromatics on it. I mean, it jumps out. And this is the first time. We have 8 vintages of our Cabernet to base ourselves on now. And this, I think, was our 4th or 4th vintage. And I love the aromatics. It's the very first time we ever use Petit Verdot in our blend. Usually it's, and it always is a big core of Cabernet. The 14, which we just finished up, was Rutherford based, little Coombsville Merlot, some mountain fruit off of, what was it, Atlas Peak? No, it was, little Cab Franc from up on the hill in the mountains. And really nice structure to the wine. So Cab Franc, a little bit, Merlot, a little bit, Cabernet is the base. This is exactly the same, almost exact same blend, but a different grape source. We're up in the mountains on this one. We're Atlas Peak, we're in Stag's Leap and Howe Mountain. So this is a mountain fruit vintage for us. It was half a normal crop in Napa. We're kind of the new kids on the block, so we were in line for the Rutherford fruit, which we generally liked as our core. But we were low men on the totem pole. And so we shifted up into Atlas and to Howell and the Stag's Leap. And we found a little bit of Petit Verdot. This is mountain fruit. You can get that green herbal edge of Cabernet, that, green olives, black olives. That's a Cabernet.
Oh, wow. This is delicious. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Well, and that's the beauty of aging your wine. I look on the shelves right now. 2018 is already on the shelf from a lot of the Napa producers. And I mean, come on, guys. Well, we keep ours so when you go to a restaurant, you open a bottle, it's going to taste great.
Right.
And it's going to be great from the get-go. I encourage people, you'll find some sediment in our wines. We don't over-filter. We're not trying to make Coca-Cola, or we're not going to be consistent every year because we go with what we get. And in this case, it's more mountain fruit driven, juicy wine. You can't always expect our wine to be right up there as far as highest quality we could possibly put in the bottle. I think we over deliver for our $75 price tag.
I would agree.
Family.
I don't want to tell you that too loudly, but I would agree. I think you do over deliver at this price point, and it's absolutely.
And we taste not our competitors, our compadres in Napa.
Your friend.
And I'm real happy with what we're doing. Tom Rinaldi, 40 years in Napa Valley.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So how did you get such an incredible winemaker on your, so let's kind of take a step back. So you decide that Ian goes to California, he's not coming back, he's bitten by the wine bug. And then you start, so how did the idea that you were going to work with him and then pull in Tom, like how did all this happen?
Well, it was all really kind of a fluke. I wanted him to have Napa Valley on his resume.
Okay.
Just as a reference point, because anybody I know sees Napa on a resume, they're going to say, bring him in. I want to talk to him. Well, he fell in love with it. And he just told me, he said, I don't want to sit behind a desk, Dad. It's just not me. And he likes the business. He got to see it, even though he worked a cellar for Rombauer for 2 summers. He goes, man, I got to get out of the cellar. He started seeing the same 5 guys every day.
Right.
And so he's been in tasting rooms around Napa for the past 6 years. He's currently at Alpha Omega and doing very well. Working the tasting room, paying his rent, and then boots on the ground for Stout. And he's growing. He's learning the business.
Right.
From the cellar to the tasting room, and now hopefully to the street.
Right.
Where he'll visit customers, and he's a lot better looking than I am.
He's made from good fruit, so he's got you and Kim.
Well, yeah, and Kim is really the backbone of our whole business. She's the one that coordinates the trucks, the barrels, the shipping, the pickup, the credits, whatever. And I'm the guy.
You are the guy
that makes sure what goes in. Well, with Tom Rinaldi, he and I've been buddies for over 40 years, and his wife Beverly kept a recording that I sent her 40 years ago on their little machine. For years, she says, I got so tired of hearing it. Hi, this is Guy Stout from Texas, calling, checking on your wine. And it was, and she said, they would laugh about that message for years. So, but we're good friends. It's all, she is really the go person for our Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah.
He approves Tom's Sauvignon Blancs that he made with duck wine, that he made with Provenance. And I mean, it goes through her first.
What a resume, by the way.
And she's
the one checking it. She's the final nose.
Yeah, for our Sauvignon Blanc program, absolutely. And she could care less about Cabernet.
Oh, really?
But Sauvignon Blanc.
That's her jam.
Yeah, we keep her in Sauvignon Blanc, make her happy.
Well, between the two of you, there's a lot of Sauvignon Blanc being consumed. I'm a little concerned. Better get some before it's gone.
Well, we produced 180 cases of the 19 vintage. The Sauvignon, we're trying to grow the program because it's our least expensive wine. And I love it, and Tom is the master of it. So we're trying to get more and more fruit. Unfortunately, the price on Napa Valley Sauvignon Blanc is kind of off the chart. You know, it's over 3,000 a ton.
Ooh.
That's a $30 bottle of Sauvignon Blanc. As it is, we're 25. It's great wine and it's delicious. I love having it around. So we
Sounds like
do.
you're having a good time.
We are, and that's the fun of being in the wine. You know, but the Cabernet and the Sauvignon are go-to. That's what we're hoping to put out there into the market.
Why don't you take us through this wine,
Right.
and then we'll kind of talk about the future, and then then we'll let everyone go and enjoy their wine.
Right, there you go. So anyway, deep, dense ruby robe. You know, just it's opaque. You can't really see through it. It's aromatically black fruit. To me, it's got almost that blackberry cobbler sort of edge to it. Rich, savory little hint of mocha. That's the wood. That baking spice component. We use about 20 to 30% new French oak barrels. And we only use French oak. Baking spice is one of the keys, I think, to Tom's style. I want more tannic. I want, some muscle. And he wants restraint. That's why we go 2 years in oak, or almost 2 years, depending on how the wine is maturing. But at least 18 months, 24 months is normal.
That's what I've noticed about this, is it is restrained. And so often you might think of a Napa Cab as something that's big and bold and it's going to, knock you over. And this does not do that. It has all of the flavor, and it has all of the fruit, and it has the spice. And the tannins are restrained. And so I guess Tom and I could be friends, Guy, because that's,
yeah.
I like that a lot about
this runs right to the edge of, just as you're tasting it, you go, whoa, here it comes, that tannin, and then it backs off.
Yeah, it just has that, it just gives it the structure and kind of the boundary without taking over the whole wine.
Well, the whole Tom plan is moderate alcohol. This is 14.5. So I'll tell you what we're not. We're not jacked up alcohol. We're not over extracted. We're not over oaked. And we're not trying to be a fruit bomb. We want restrained elegance, and I think that's what the aging does for our wine. Plus that touch that Tom has. He's, when he added the 1% or one, and it was 1% like of the Petit Verdot, and I'm like, why do we need that? He's just bear with me, try this. And after we were doing, some of our fractional blending, he gave me that glass, and I went, wow, that's wonderful. And he goes, 1%. And I went, okay, I will shut up again. So, but, we push each other. We know each other. I've known him for 40 years. So he's been one of my buddies. And that backing up the story a little, it was, when Ian decided to stay in Napa, I said, and I called Tom and I said, hey, have lunch with us. And we would have lunch every time I go out. And Ian goes, we need a winemaker. Paul Hobbs made our first wine, the 2011.
Which is amazing.
And I'm telling people, if you got it, start drinking it. I mean, it's still good for another few years. But, God, I had a bottle at a restaurant that bought it. Here in Houston, El Mason. I think I drank their last bottle. I was just like, oh man, this is so good. But from Hobbs, where do you go? In 2012, we didn't have any money. We had to sell what we had. We have a beautiful 13. It's a library release. It's on our website. I think that is the best wine we've ever made. And I held some back because I didn't want to just blow through it. Our 14 was so juicy and forward and lovely. We pushed it in, and now this 15, we've gone from that Rutherford base up into the mountains. And we have some people that are stuck on 14, but wait till they try the 15. To me, it's got a little bit more of that grip, and it's a beautiful expression of mountain fruit. So I am in love with this 15. But don't be afraid. Every one of our wines is throwing a little bit of sediment because we don't filter the heck out of it. We do a coarse filtration prior to bottling just to knock out any big stuff. But you'll find the beauty of having a little bit of sediment is you don't even know it's there until the end of the bottle. And by then you're going, wow, hey, it's great. So don't be afraid of a little sediment.
Yeah. Well, Guy, I really appreciate you taking us through this story of starting out as the busboy and and now working with your wife and your son and a really good friend. I just think that's just the way to do it. That's the way to live, right?
Well, you've met Kim, and she has a regular job. She's just doing this. I'm just trying to make her life easier now that I've made it harder.
Well, you're still a team. You're still a team. And thanks so much for sharing all this with us and telling us about your life in wine and sharing these delicious wines. Cheers.
It's fun, and it's been, always lovely visiting with you. And cheers, my dear.
Thank you.